My name is Mark Milstein, and I'm Director of the Center for Sustainable Global Enterprise at the Cornell University S.C. Johnson College of Business. For nearly 2 decades, the center has been conducting applied research and teaching on the growth opportunities companies pursue through competitive strategies that address the world's most pressing social and environmental challenges. I want to welcome all of you and thank you for joining us for the 6th Annual Cornell Business Impact Symposium. Today is the second of 6 panels that will take place over the next 10 days. The symposium will culminate next week on April 17th with the finals of the first Cornell Impact Investing Competition, which I hope you'll join us for. CBIS is only possible because of the hard work of a lot of people who deserve some recognition. First, thank you to the students from the 7 graduate and undergraduate clubs that collaborate with our center to organize CBIS. Also, thanks to my center colleagues, Monica Twinar and Safia Abdulhamid, for all their efforts that make this possible each year. Additionally, we want to thank eCornell for enabling us to hold this event virtually for the 2nd year in a row. Finally, I want to thank Clinic for their sponsorship of this year's event. I want to remind everyone to please use the chat function with any questions they have during the session, and that will go to our session moderator. With that, I want to turn it over to Kenny Wong and Yuan Chen, who are both with Cornell Consult Your Community, who will introduce tonight's session.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome everyone to our panel. My name is Yuan, and I'm a junior studying industrial and labor relations at Cornell, and I'm the current president of Cornell Consult Your Community. I'll pass it on to Kenny to introduce himself too.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Kenny Wong. I am a sophomore studying government and economics in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I am the current executive vice president of Consult Your Community. Our club, Consult Your Community, or CYC, is a national college student-run consulting organization. We work exclusively with small businesses or nonprofit organizations, with a vast majority being minority or women-owned. We are here today to learn about achieving equity, the power of community organizing and small business revitalization.
As a brief introduction of the topic, small businesses employ nearly 60% of the private workforce and create nearly 70% of new jobs. The economy relies on small businesses, but they're in trouble. Only 50% of small businesses make it to their 5th year of operations, and many small business owners struggle with high staff turnover and operational issues, and do not capitalize on digital tools to grow their business. These inequities are only exacerbated in marginalized communities facing the compounded effects of systematic inequality and racism. And we are very excited here to learn today about how we can continue to support small businesses and engage with community building to help with economic revitalization.
Now, we would like to introduce our panel moderator and advisor, Professor Brian Lucas, an assistant professor of organizational behavior in the School of Industrial and Labor Relations. Professor Lucas will introduce the panelists and proceed to the questions. We will accept audience questions in the last 20 minutes, but please feel free to type them in the chat as we go along. Professor Lucas, all yours.
All right, well, thank you, Yuan and Kenny. Thank you all for coming here. I'm looking forward to having a great discussion tonight. So we have 3 amazing panelists with us. All of them are doing great work kind of at the intersection of small business revitalization, community organizing, and achieving equity and social justice. So to start us off, I just want to go through and introduce each of our panelists. So first up, we have Lourdes Zapata. Ms. Zapata is the president and CEO of South Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. So this is a community-based nonprofit organization. They're providing in and out of school youth educational services, vocational programming and workforce development for youth and adults, and business support to new, mid-range, and established businesses. So Ms. Zapata has also previously served as Chief Diversity Officer of the Office of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the Executive Vice President at Empire State Development. So our next panelist is Purnima Mohan. Ms. Mohan is the Economic Development Coordinator and Team Leader at the Westminster Economic Development Initiative. So this aims to provide business and educational opportunities to the people of Buffalo's West Side, so specifically their West Side Bazaar, which acts as a business incubator space for predominantly refugee and immigrant entrepreneurs. And third, we have Gladys Bringman. Ms. Bringman is the founder of the Business Leaders of Colors, a group of small business owners committed to social justice. So this network was formed to level the playing field and create a supportive space for commerce that benefits the underserved business community. So first off, thank you, each of you, for spending your time with us tonight. And I want to kick it off by handing it to you to further introduce yourselves and your organization. And you can feel free to say a little bit about your background, how it's inspired you to do the work that you're doing and to fight for social justice. So why don't we stick with the order that we just went in? Lourdes, do you want to start us off?
Sure, Professor Lucas. Thank you very much for having me. Thank your students for having me. This is really a pleasure to get to speak with all of you and certainly with my fellow panelists. It's an honor to share the stage, if it will, with you tonight. As referenced, I am currently President and CEO of Sobro, which is commonly known as Sobro, which is a South Bronx-based but borough-wide service provider in the areas of community and economic development. We were founded in 1972, so almost 50 years. We're coming up on our 50th anniversary, initially to deal with the disinvestment that was happening in our community at the time in the early 70s from businesses. There was certainly flight and disinvestment that was happening in our borough during that time. Businesses were leaving, the jobs were leaving, the economic benefit was leaving at that time. And so we were founded on the premise that we needed to support small businesses and we needed to support the economic engine of our borough if we were to survive. During that time and since then, we have grown and evolved in response to the needs of, as our community has changed, so have we, and making sure that we're continuing to address the needs. So today, Sobro, as referenced, not just continues its initial mission of economic development activity, but we've also expanded our work in the areas of workforce development and making sure that we are marrying the business services needs of our local businesses with their workforce needs and vice versa, helping our residents find jobs, whether it's in Bronx-based businesses or throughout the city. We provide youth programming, again, providing workforce opportunities for our young people, but also educational and vocational training, as well as development of affordable housing and special needs housing. So it's an effort and an organization that is near and dear to my heart. It is operating in the South Bronx community within which I was born and raised. So I have not just the pleasure and the honor of serving a community that I have a real affinity for, but it is the community that I spend my childhood in. And so the folks that work there are the people that I've known all my life. The single mothers were my mother, who was a single mother in the early 1970s. The business owner was also my mother, who was a business owner in the 1970s, and servicing my family. And so it's an effort that's very near and dear to my heart and really influenced my professional path, in that I have dedicated my professional life to working within low-income communities, communities of color, disenfranchised communities, and that has reflected in the work that I've done at Sobro, but also I served as Community Economic Development Director for the city of Newburgh, New York, which is in the Hudson Valley, which demographically mirrors very much the Bronx in terms of income and ethnic composition, and then taking me to work in the governor's office, where I was able to focus my work with minority and women-owned businesses on a statewide level. So I had the opportunity to go beyond the borders and understand that it is a very big state, that Ithaca is out there, Buffalo is out there, Plattsburgh is out there, and Rochester, Syracuse, all these other communities throughout the state of New York that, again, have very real needs and real ties in terms of helping to support small businesses, but particularly minority and women-owned businesses. So I'm really, I've been fortunate to be able to work in an area that I love, and again, very much looking forward to tonight's discussion.
Thank you. Purnima, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to one and all on this gorgeous Friday evening. I'm honored and glad to be part of this panel today. And thank you to the Consult Your Community Club at Cornell for inviting me today. I'm Purnima Mohan, and I work at WEDI, the Westminster Economic Development Initiative, as the Economic Development Coordinator and Team Leader, as was mentioned. My background is in food science, and I worked for a couple of food corporations in the past. But I soon realized that my passion is in entrepreneurship, and I hope to start my own business someday soon. Currently, in my role, I support the Westside Bazaar, which is a small business incubator for refugee and immigrant businesses. I support them by providing business education workshops and any kind of technical assistance, TA, that they or our loan clients need to be successful. I'm also working on a platform that helps our advisors/mentors and entrepreneurs/mentees partner and share resources and schedule meetings to support their business needs. WEDI is a CDFI, a community development financial institution, and we strive for financial equity through business education and entrepreneurship. We provide microloans, and we also support through various grants. We provide services like microfinancing, micro-enterprise incubation, again, financial literacy training, business mentoring, to name a few. We also have an education program that provides impactful after-school education to refugee and immigrant families, and they're offered at the elementary, middle, and high school level, helping our English language learners. So that's a little bit about myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gladys.
I'm going to echo what my fellow panelists said. I thank you all for allowing me to be here and share, and it's an honor to be here. So my name is Gladys Brangman, and the name of my business is Business Leaders of Colors. We are a network of small business owners, and our goal is to help support small business owners in whatever way we can. It often involves providing them with business management tools, such as helping them with a business or marketing plan, or working with them to manage their cash flow, or helping them apply for business loans. We know that all is not equal in the business world, and we are working to level the playing field to create a supportive space for commerce that benefits the underserved business community.
Excellent. All right, so let's move on to the next question here. So communities of color have historically been locked out of wealth building and economic opportunities, while at the same time experiencing divestment. So the question here is, why are minority small businesses crucial to the process of capital reinvestment and economic revitalization? Gladys, if you would like to start us off.
Sure. One of the reasons why I believe they're crucial is because small local businesses are the backbone of our communities. Local businesses are more accountable to their local communities, and they also donate more money to nonprofits. Supporting local businesses is also good for the environment because they often have a smaller carbon footprint than larger companies.
Purnima.
Yes, thanks for that question. So minority small businesses are, of course, extremely crucial. So according to the National Minority Supplier Development Council, minority businesses actually produce billions in annual revenue and actively employ either directly or indirectly. They become entrepreneurs at a higher rate than US-born citizens, and their business owners have the potential to create more jobs and revitalize distressed communities. Many members of the minority communities are actually locked out of the traditional jobs due to lack of access to social capital, poor educational systems, broken transportation systems, and also systemic racism at times. These entrepreneurs create businesses out of necessity, and refugees contribute to the economy through consumer spending and business startups, thus resulting in a net positive fiscal impact. And additionally, they also help revitalize declining areas and drive the creation of vibrant communities. Thank you.
And Lourdes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those points, I would echo all of the points made, and perhaps also add the fact that it is small businesses that tend to hire locally. So it becomes not just an economic opportunity for its owner, but also for members of the immediate surrounding community. I think it is small businesses that are the ones that will have their finger on the pulse of the cultural needs of communities, particularly within communities of color that are most culturally responsive to any goods or services that might be sought after by local residents. And, as said, they provide a real stabilizing force in a community, whether we're talking about being vigilant on sanitation issues, on social needs, crime issues. It's usually the local store owners that are not just economic rocks of a community, but really, in many cases, social rocks as well, that the local community gets to know the local restaurant owner, the local bodega owner, the local produce provider. And so, the small businesses, not just from an economic perspective, but I would also argue from a social and justice perspective, they are key players in ensuring that across the board.
Excellent. So with our next question here, I want to pivot to a related topic, and it's around social networks. So because business owners of color are often overlooked and underrepresented, what do you think are the major strengths in power building that occur when creating a central network for your minority business owners? Purnima, I'm going to throw this one to you first.
Sure. Thank you. So I think the major strengths in providing access to the businesses are building networks, support networks for them. We at VD believe in partnerships and collaboration. We work with different micro enterprise groups in the community. We have partnered with SCORE, the SBDC, the SBA, and the University at Buffalo Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership, to just name a few of them. Capital Connect is an organization that we work with. It provides a one-stop portal for business owners seeking funding or advice to help their business grow. And by joining the efforts and resources under that platform, 4 leading not-for-profit organizations came together to form the Capital Connect. It's eliminating barriers to access capital and also ensuring that every business owner is provided the opportunity to start, grow, thrive, and sustain their businesses. So Capital Connect brings together Pursuit, which was formerly called the Excelsior Growth Fund, Launch New York, Pathstone Enterprise Center, and VD. And they're all local not-for-profit organizations that are committed to increasing business opportunities for low-income, minority, women, and immigrant entrepreneurs as well. And we provide a ton of business education resources that helps them sustain as well. We have training and workshops in business planning, finance, marketing, social media, talking about their competition, how to even pitch their businesses to move forward, trend awareness. So there's tons of them. Personal budgeting, we have bookkeeping, also about hiring employees. And we also have training in diversity and inclusion, right? Sustainability, how to work in multicultural environments, health and food safety. So again, by providing resources and training in all these topics, we are supporting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Lourdes, would you like to step in?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Sobro is a technical assistance provider. So we don't necessarily generate networks per se. I think one of the amazing things about groups like WEDI and the business leaders of color is that you can provide those opportunities for business owners to get to meet, because there is a lot of value in business owners connecting. They share resources. They share, they give each other advice. There's the peer-to-peer, business-to-business supports that can be brought to bear on facilitating those kinds of relationships. We had a business in the South Bronx, for example, that we supported in helping her pivot her business model due to COVID. And the experience she shared was that, as she was kind of struggling to figure out how to sustain her business, she went ahead and got her liquor license. And she was able to kind of she's an incredibly smart woman, and did it all on her own, applied for a liquor license, was able to get her liquor license. And she had her own network of small businesses in her neighborhood, and found that one of her friends, who also owned a restaurant down the street, needed to get a liquor license. And her friend had been suggested to go get a lawyer to do that. And this other business owner was able to tell her, save your money. Let me help you get your liquor license. Let me walk you through the process, because it's something that I went through. And I think, and I would assume, Gladys and Pranima can also share many stories like that, where businesses, particularly when you're talking about minority-owned businesses, are family oriented. We start as families, we do it for our families, and we consider other minority-owned businesses not as competitors, but also family members that we need to support. And whereas Sobro can provide that support on the technical side, groups like Weedy and Gladys's group are super important in making sure that networking it also takes place.
That's great. And Gladys?
Okay, looking at major strengths of a network. Well, there's strength in numbers. So working with other business owners gives them a sense of community and a place to go for answers. It also helps members connect, learn, and access shared resources. I often tell members of the network that if your customers can't find you, you don't exist. And what a business network does is help actually businesses be seen. Quick example, this past February, business leaders of colors partnered with the local Tompkins Chamber of Commerce. 9 members of my network were given the opportunity to do a pitch about their business. That experience was extremely empowering for those business owners. Why? Because they were in front of an audience that they may never have heard about otherwise. And also the attendees of the meeting were also encouraged because they saw businesses that they would love to frequent, and it just made that sense of community, it made that community even larger. And encouragement can go a very long way, especially with BIPOC business owners. Community, guidance, and collaboration. These are the major strengths of a network. Thank you.
That's great. So for the next question, we're going to pivot to COVID. Yes, everyone's favorite topic. And so this one's going to go to you first, Lourdes. So given the effects of COVID, what were some of the major challenges that you faced as you were working in your minority and small business communities, and how have you combated them?
So I think for us, kind of the logistical ones is basic communication, right? So we're used to dealing with our businesses at their place of business. So we have business phone numbers, we have business emails, and then all of a sudden everything shut down. So how do we get in touch with our client base? And that was a real struggle for us in the first few months, trying to figure out alternative ways for us to be able to communicate with our businesses. We found that many of our businesses, for very realistic reasons, had access and trust issues. Do they trust government? Do they trust the public agencies that are there designed to help them? And I think that's, again, where organizations like Sobro that have been in the community providing community supports and providing technical assistance support to our small businesses. And again, such as groups such as Business Leaders of Color and Weedy within their own respective communities, that's where organizations like ours are important, because we can provide them not just the information and the access, but we have the relationship so that they understand that we're operating in their best interest. But I think really, the challenge for our small businesses during COVID was, how do they pivot their business model if they're used to working in a specific way? Now they have to go from a face-to-face or person-to-person interaction with their customer base to moving to remote services or moving to online services. And that's been a struggle, I know, for our small businesses. And then the other is, as has always been, is access to capital. They were hit in their pocketbook. This was a real economic blow to our small businesses. And I don't know that the publicly funded programs really were able to tap into those businesses that were hurt the most. I know in New York City, the Paycheck Protection Program that was promoted by the federal government only reached 7%. Only 7% of the money of Triple P money in New York City came to the Bronx. 57% of the money went to Manhattan. If you look at the small business space in Manhattan versus the small business space in the Bronx or any of the outer boroughs, you'll see that there is a real discrepancy there. So how do we help our businesses access the programming that is available for them, the resources that are available for them? That was and remains still a challenge to this day, as long as this pandemic keeps impacting all of us.
Yeah, and Gladys, what are some of the challenges that you've seen?
What I've seen with our business owners, actually, I worked with them to basically reinvent themselves. They had to figure out what they were going to do, how they were going to pivot. And I can tell you an example of one member of the network who's a caterer. When the pandemic hit and Cornell shut down, all of her business shut down, and in 48 hours, she lost every single future client that she had for the next year. And she's trying to figure out how she's going to make it. And what she did, as much as she didn't want to, because who likes change? But what she ended up doing was she decided she was going to go online. So she added her menu to her website, added pricing, and she started working out of her home. Fortunately for her, she had a commercial kitchen. She was able to produce meals at home, and on Thursdays, people had up until Thursday at noon to order their food. They could come and pick it up on Friday, anytime after, say, 3 o'clock. And she was actually able to maintain her business because she had turned and changed her model and everything that she was looking at doing. Not all businesses were that fortunate. Many of them were, though. So, I mean, locally here in Tompkins County, I think businesses did okay. There were some not so much, but many of them did do well. My business personally actually thrived because everyone was trapped at home. And let me think, I heard about that Business Leaders of Colors. Let me look them up. And so I did well, but I did work with a lot of businesses who had some issues. Thank you.
Yeah, and Purnima.
So to add to what Gladys and Lourdes said, I think it's all about changing adversity to opportunity. Yes. So to combat some of the effects of COVID, right, we at VD have provided grants to support small businesses through the Neighborly Fund and also through the Buffalo Business Blitz, where we dispersed almost $500,000 to about 200 businesses, 45% of which were minorities and 65% of them were women-owned. And the distribution of this fund provided financial assistance awards to small businesses that were financially impacted by COVID, either through layoffs, furloughs, or any other hardships. And between April and August of this year, VD is operating the City of Buffalo's Micro Enterprise Grant Program, which will deploy about $1.5 million to low-income business owners. And the industries that were impacted in our case were food service, it was about 34%, health and wellness was 18%, hair and beauty supply about 13%, retail was 9%, transportation was 6%, etc. And our West Side Bazaar restaurants obviously had to go to takeout only because of the space limitations that we have with the 6 feet social distancing guidelines. So they had to create an online menu, as Lourdes was referring to. Again, they had to take pictures of their products and pricing and kind of post it on their website. Also, our West Side retail businesses actually could not continue their businesses in store because customers couldn't come inside the bazaar to shop. So we organized an outdoor bazaar for them for the few months that the weather was good in Buffalo. And then after that, I helped them kind of go to their Square website. Square was offering free websites during that time frame. So we created websites for all their products and the items and things like that. So yeah, I think they are successful now selling their products online. So I think that's how we try to combat some of the issues that COVID sent our way. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for those responses. For this next question, I think we're going to turn to probably the next biggest thing that's on the mind of the nation, which is related to the Black Lives Matter movement. And Lourdes, I'm going to send this one to you first. So given that you all have years of experience in community activism, I was wondering how the community organizing and minority business landscape might have changed since around 2020 when the Black Lives Matter movement took center stage.
I mean, I think from a non-business perspective, certainly it is a movement and a discussion, as hard as it is to have, that is critical to have and important for all of us to be mindful of. From a social perspective and a community perspective, there was certainly a lot of community dialogue happening and activism happening within the South Bronx community. From a business perspective, again, we're not a network, so we're dealing with individual businesses on a day-to-day basis. There wasn't really that direct line link that you could see between the public discourse and dialogue that was happening and just the day-to-day operations of businesses. I think there was certainly on a citywide level an effort to focus some energy on supporting Black-owned businesses, and that certainly happened. But when we're talking about, at least within the South Bronx, very small retailers that are super just focused on keeping their doors open in light of COVID and all the other challenges. I mean, owning and operating a business is hard enough without all these added layers of challenges. So at the very grassroots community level, not much of an impact beyond just a real social understanding and reckoning that there were some really difficult conversations that needed to be had. But I understand also, some of my colleagues on the panel that are working at, within networks had a different experience.
Yeah, so let's turn to Gladys. Would you like to speak on this issue?
Yes, thank you. The landscape has changed now simply because there are more opportunities for grants, loans, and access to programming that wasn't available before. And of course, there's more money now for support. For me, seeing this, basically what it says is that they see us now. They see Black-owned, minority-owned businesses. They see us, and people are actually paying attention and reaching out. One thing that I had happen was a group of junior high students decided to put together a GoFundMe page, and they ended up getting like $3,000 and reached out asking me if I would accept this money. No one, reaches out and says, hey, we have money for you here. Just the fact that these young people were so moved by what was going on to reach out to local organizations, and they found my business and another one, and they were looking to just share the wealth and to see that type of activism from young people. It was just absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about how wonderful it was to get that kind of response from some young people. So people are paying attention, and that's what I can say, has changed, is more people are paying attention now. Thank you.
Yes, that's great. And Purnima?
I think I would echo what Lourdes and Gladys had to say. From a VD's perspective, we didn't really see a direct impact on the business landscape. But obviously, we are supporting the Black-owned businesses and promoting them, and we saw a lot more grants coming our way as well. VD remains committed to assisting the underserved and the marginalized, right, to achieve economic success. And I have the statement from Martin Luther King, right, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So there are organizations like the Partnership for the Public Good that have resources on diversity and inclusion as well. And collectively, right, we all have the opportunity to create sustainable change by standing in solidarity and denouncing violence in all its forms. and working to realize equity. Thank you.
You know, it's just occurred to me. I'm wondering, and I'd be interested to hear what the panelists have to say, whether the change is regional. When you've got such a heavily urban area like New York City or the South Bronx, and again, I understand that there are really urban areas like in Syracuse and Buffalo and Rochester, as opposed to, you know, Albany, which certainly has its urban areas, but it's not nearly as densely populated. It's not nearly possibly as diverse, and even, you know, other areas of the state where, you know, Ithaca and Rome, New York, and the Southern Tier. I'm wondering whether the location has anything to do with kind of the noticing the impact of a movement like this, at the business level, at least.
All right, I'm going to take this one, or at least try.
Pose the question.
As far as, I mean, I could see the difference, and of course, it depends upon the makeup of the community and, you know, what the people collectively believe. We're very fortunate here in Ithaca, New York, because there seems to be this community mindset. And when the Black Lives Matter movement, I think we all noticed that every industry out there was putting out statements about the fact that Black Lives Matters. And I'm sure that it is going to be different depending on whether you're in a rural community, whether you're in an urban area, mixed, whatever it happens to be. I'm sure there's going to be a difference. But it's, all I can say is I know that in Ithaca, New York, we saw an incredible amount of support. And I even had a local brewery who brewed a beer, and I think a few breweries collaborated on this, and they reached out asking if they could donate some of the proceeds from that beer to my organization. And then, of course, I had to think, okay, what am I going to do with that? And so I will put that money into a fund to help support people who feel like they can't afford to join the network. And it's okay, here's a membership for Black-owned businesses. So there's now a fund specifically for Black-owned businesses. But that's something here locally in Ithaca, New York, which is, you know, pretty progressive. So that's what I can say.
That's great.
Yeah, and I certainly think this highlights one of the nuances of community organizing, which is that the organizing serves the local community. So each community might respond differently to the needs of the current time. All right, so let's move on to the next question. And I think this is the last prepared question we have. So many of the people joining us are students, working professionals, and community members. How should they effectively leverage their capital to support small businesses? And Purnima, I'm going to throw this one to you first.
Thank you for that question. So I would encourage students and the community members to shop local and support local businesses. That's the very first thing. Speak with your family and friends, right? Spread the word, create awareness about the importance of small businesses. Be their patrons instead of going to chain restaurants all the time and retail stores for shopping. That's one way that these students and the community members could help. And we've also partnered with the Cornell High Road program through the ILR school and have had a few amazing fellows work with us these past years. You know, they've helped VD with research about predatory lending, building curriculum for our 3-year business incubation program. And through that connection, I'm here today actually to speak with you. And we are currently working with the Charles Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management for their spring course, actually. And the course name is Immigrants and Refugees Changing the Entrepreneurial Landscape in America. It's a course that focuses on how immigrants and refugees, right, add value to the business arena in the United States. And this is a course actually that qualifies for the Grand Challenge requirement as well. And we have students from different backgrounds in the course, in hotel school, global development, Africana, etc. And they're helping with our Westside Bazaar businesses in Buffalo and working individually with each business. They're helping them with social media, with website creation, and menu creation, just to name a few. And the focus of this partnership also will assist VD in developing and implementing the incubation program for the startups for our new bazaar, which is going to be starting construction pretty soon. So yeah, I think students and community members have a lot to offer, and we are thankful for the collaboration with Cornell.
It's great advice. Lourdes.
I completely agree with Purnima in especially particularly related to the point of buying local. I think it's important for all of us to keep that in mind. And I know I made a very certain concerted effort over the holidays to go to the local commercial districts in my neighborhood to purchase as much as I possibly could from those local stores. So that's always important. But also, for students, engage with organizations like Sobro, engage with organizations like Gladys and Purnima's. I think one of the great things that I find about talking with students and working with students is the energy that you bring to the work that we do and the perspective that you bring to the work that we do. And, if there are volunteer opportunities, if there are programming opportunities, if you just want to get involved and engaged, those are always great opportunities to learn front hand, and being mindful that funds are always low and money is important. I get it. But having the experience and communicating and supporting and engaging with organizations like ours that are really spending our time and effort and energy in supporting small businesses is yet another avenue for folks to explore.
That's great. And Gladys.
Okay. What can students and our community do? Well, lend small businesses your gifts and your talents. I have been very fortunate to work with a few groups of students at Cornell. I've worked with the Entrepreneurship Law Clinic at Cornell Law School. They worked on my terms of use for my website, and with just that alone, I had 12 items listed there. I walked away with over 25 pages of what a real terms of use should look like. They also worked with me on multiple applications with the U.S. Patent Office. So now my logo is a service mark with the Patent Office. Working with Consult Your Community, working with me on the look and feel of my social media messaging. Who knew it took all that work? I had no idea. Small business owner, heard about social media, didn't really truly understand. It took 5 students convincing me, and it took them a solid hour to convince me of the importance and the need for me to change my social media. And it wasn't until I gave them control of it that my social media is awesome right now. And it's just going to continue getting better. And it's simply because of the young people that I've been working with at Cornell. So all I can say is please work with us and teach us. Thank you.
That's great. So we have a question that's come in from Tatiana. It's and this person is asking, I would love to know more about the process of starting your own community organization. So it's perhaps a broad question, but just someone that's interested in getting started there, where do they start?
Gladys, you're the, I think you're the entrepreneur of the group. Do you want to take that one?
I'll start, but I know you definitely have something to say about this. When you're looking to start working within your community, finding the movers and shakers is a good place to start. Determining what it is you want to do, finding people who are doing that in your community, finding a mentor, and also seeing if there are any unmet needs. And if there are, those are the ones that you're going to want to focus on so that you're not duplicating efforts. but meet as many people as possible, ask as many questions, and definitely if you can get a mentor, that will make all the difference in the world. Lourdes, I know you have something to say.
No, I think that's great advice. I would say, I think what I would add to that is, what I tell business owners, or really any entrepreneur, you fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Identify the problem that you are seeking to solve. As Gladys mentioned, you want to make sure that you're not going to be duplicating resources and efforts that already exist within the community, but be responsive. Don't walk in thinking that you have the answer. Listen to your community, listen to what the needs are, and identify what the problem is, and then create a solution to try to address it.
Excellent advice. So we have a question that's come in from Eric. Eric asks, how does business incubation work? And how does this process connect to the process of getting a microloan?
I think I'll take that question. So the business incubation is a 3-year incubation program at VD, so the West Side Bazaar. So the business, we have an application where the businesses apply. We look at their credit history and things like that. But again, that's not a deterrent factor. We provide loans if the businesses need that, but we provide tons of resources through our TA, and we also connect them to mentors who kind of help them through the process, starting right from the business plan to marketing, to finance, taxes, insurance, social media. So we have a 3-year program. So we have a pre-bazaar, year 1, year 2, year 3, and a post-bazaar. So it kind of takes you through the 3-year time frame. So in the 3rd year, you're looking at real estate if you want to open up your own space outside and things like that. We connect you to like different partners in the community, all that. So that's kind of how the incubation program works.
And do others want to add?
Not really.
All right. So we have a question from Lynn. Lynn asks, what financial resources are you aware of that are available for nonprofit startups within New York State?
I would say that for startups, very few, if any. Quite frankly, I would say if you are looking to start a nonprofit organization, you may consider partnering with an existing nonprofit organization so that you can piggyback on their knowledge and expertise. It is a bit of that, two-sided coin that, you don't get funding if you don't have experience, but how can you get experience if you don't have funding to perform the tasks? Partnering with another nonprofit organization can help you build your resume as a community-based organization, because, at least on the public side, well, even on the private side, the question is going to be, what's your experience within the community or the service that you're seeking to provide? And you want to be able to answer that. If you go in as a subcontractor to a larger existing nonprofit, that's a way for you to start building your resume in that respect. I'm not sure if the ladies have any more they wanted to add to that.
I actually met with a client just last week who told me about a website called grants.gov. And that might be a really good place to start to see what grants are out there. And now some of them may be grants that perhaps they start out as grants, eventually become loans, whatever it happens to be, but definitely worth taking a look. And then, of course, there's that magic called Google. Use it.
Yeah. Grants, actually, Gladys, grants.gov is the state portal. Mm-hmm. So the state will list all available grant opportunities for state contracting opportunities on grants.gov.
Gotcha.
But again, the challenge is finding it is the first step, successfully getting it is the other. And so Yeah, so you need to really make sure that you're paying attention to the specifics of what's being sought after, and what the requirements are for qualified nonprofit organizations to apply.
Excellent.
All right, so we have a question from Mary. So Mary asks, among women-owned minority businesses, do you see ethnic variations in terms of their needs? So i.e. whether they're run by Middle Eastern, South Asian, Latin American, Black owners, etc.?
Ethnic variations. I've seen every nationality that there is. One of the reasons why my business, it started out as Business Leaders of Color, and I changed it from color to colors because I wanted to make sure that it was completely inclusive of anyone who wanted to be a part of the network. So every nationality that wants to be a part of this can and feel, hopefully, completely comfortable and like they're a part of a group of other business owners who are looking to thrive. My goal with Business Leaders of Colors is really to allow people to work their passion, to be able to actually generate revenue doing something they love, as opposed to something that they can just do. Tons of women, all about the women, all about any small business owner. But I don't see, I'm not seeing the difference, the differentiation that you're mentioning at all. It's every nationality is what I'm seeing.
I can speak for the West Side Bazaar. We have folks from different backgrounds, from the Middle East, from Burma, from India, from Pakistan, from Rwanda. So it's a melting pot of all different backgrounds, and they work very well together. Again, the basic needs are the same in terms of like business and access. Just the language is sometimes an issue, but we have interpreters where we work with them efficiently. So yeah, they would work really well together.
Excellent. So we have a question here. This one's from Kelly, and Kelly's asking about, are you working with any organizations that are facing, that are trying to get into industries that minorities have historically been blocked out of? So in the question, they give the example of the medical cannabis dispensary licenses, but we were wondering if, are there any people you're working with that are working in those spaces?
I mean, I think you will find affinity organizations that are really just about in every single space you can imagine. So, you know, I've partnered with organizations that work with, you know, minority contractors, engineers, bodega owners, you know, just about anything. So. You know, I'm kind of fumbling because you know, we work with whoever we can work with. I think, you know, the cannabis industry specifically is a new industry to the state, is an emerging industry to the state. I actually served on the governor's task force in developing the proposed legislation for legalizing cannabis in the state. And I know there was a lot of discussion about ensuring equity and justice for our communities that were disproportionately impacted with the from the criminal justice side. We also spent a good amount of time talking about how to ensure that we are retaining business opportunities for minority-owned businesses in the community. And one of the ways we looked at doing that were things like looking at the vertical integration of the product, right, from farming to manufacturing to retail, and trying to make sure that we were retaining opportunities at every single level and not creating a system where it could be monopolized by those that have, you know, the amount of money needed to be able to capture all three elements of that industry. So that's all I have to add on that piece. I don't know if anyone else wanted to take it on.
Yeah.
All right, so we're running up at the end of our time here. One thing I wanted to do, we'll keep looking for audience questions if more come in, but I wanted to give each of our panelists just the opportunity to give us any final thoughts or anything you would like to leave us with. And you don't have to do this, but I just wanted to provide that opportunity. And so Purnima, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Sure, thank you. So I just wanted to leave you all with a hope and my philosophical approach and perspective. So human beings, right, have moved from place to place across the millennia by choice and under duress, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future, but only by upholding our duty to protect those fleeing persecution and violence, and by embracing the opportunities that refugees and migrants offer to their new societies, will we be able to achieve a more prosperous and fairer future for all. We must remain resolute in our desire to live in and create a better world for everyone, of every color and background, a world that celebrates our diversity while ensuring opportunity for all. And success is a world that no longer needs weedy organizations like us. If you're in and around Buffalo, please come and check out our wonderful cuisines at the West Side Bazaar, from Burmese to Chinese to Ethiopian. We have an array of cuisines out there. And please check out our website at weedybuffalo.org for more information. And we offer a ton of business education and workshops that are free to attend. And please like our Facebook page as well. Thank you.
Yep. Gladys or Lourdes?
Actually, I'm going to stay silent because that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Purnima, come on. So beautifully said that all I can do is screw it up. All I will do is, but I'm going to try and screw it up. I'm not going to try not to screw it up anyway. I think, this has been challenging. It's incredibly challenging times from an emotional, from health, from economics to community. And what has kept me sane is having the opportunity to talk to amazing people that are just doing amazing things, that are being passionate about the work that they're doing. So I would say to those of you that are listening, that are students, that are pursuing your passion, I want to encourage you as much as possible. Like Purnima, share our website. We are at Sobro.org. Please look us up. If you're in the Bronx or if you're in New York City, please do come and visit and see what we have and see what we do. And if there's some opportunities for us to work together, I would love to have that, because I think, the older I get, the more impressed I am by the energy of the next generations that are coming up, that are not afraid to speak truth to power, that are not afraid to make mistakes, that are not afraid to be seen as others or different. And believe it or not, there was a time where that was not that easy to do. And so, I think you guys are living through some really challenging but incredibly amazing times right now. And so, just incredibly happy to be able to talk with all of you, and hope that you're leaving tonight feeling encouraged about the fact that you can have an impact in our low-income communities, our communities of color, and working with our small businesses.
Yeah.
That was great. With that, I think we're coming to a close here. I think it was great to get to hear the perspectives and experiences from communities literally all across New York, from Buffalo to Ithaca to the Bronx. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark to close us out.
Thank you. That was a really interesting discussion. It reminded me that part of the sustainability and business dialogue is really about being more deliberate about the purchases that we make and where we make them from. I want to thank Lourdes and Purnima, Gladys, and Brian for moderating the session, for joining us here today. Really appreciate all of you taking your time to join us at CBIS this year. I want to remind everybody that our next session is 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time next week on April 12th, when we'll be discussing changing the world through social entrepreneurship. I hope all of you will join us then. Until then, take care.